Heal Your Shit is a podcast for anyone curious about why life throws us curveballs. We're all about digging into the connections between mind, body, and soul, but we keep it real. Because, let's be honest, being human can be one wild ride. Once you understand your shit, healing it becomes a whole lot easier.
Hello, welcome to our next episode. And today we don't have a title of the episode, I guess. We'll explore.
We're going to explore a little bit about how we live our lives and
a little bit about how to find our place in this crazy world.
Yeah.
And how to navigate that. Yeah.
From our truths. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's play with it.
Yeah.
Well, as we all know, the world today is a little bit weird. You know, the divorce rates are up through the roof. The sort of core family concept has been a little bit destroyed. And a lot of people are stressed and have a lot of stress syndromes.
Anxiety,
using SSRI to
get better.
To get better and to feel better. And other people choose to go out off grid
and just escape this craziness, because
exactly.
It's kind of, I feel like it's very hard to find that peace in the middle of the storm, but if you're able to do that, then you're gonna be fine anywhere you land in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes people choose that life, and I'm not trying to judge, but choose that life outside of regular communities to not have to face all the shit that we're surrounded by. And I understand that, but at the same time, I'm always wondering, because we're watching the same TV show by Ben Fogle, who goes to those different families or couples, or maybe people who just chose to live off grid, and they don't use so much money, they don't connect so much with the communities, they rather live off grid and get their own food and build their own houses and so on.
And there's really something there that also talks to my soul, and I totally understand that. And living and seeing my son now, he's 14, he just wants to be on YouTube, play on his computer, get away, and not, connecting to the real world as much. And that also builds up a frustration in me, I feel.
Yeah.
And a longing to go for that, instead of going into having a chip in the brain, being ultra connected, being,
And that's unfortunately our future, or the possible future, because if you look at the technology and how it's been improving in a way, the chatbots, AI, and so on. And I'm not saying it's bad, but for sure there's a scenario where we will have some chips and some technology in our bodies. And actually, I've been listening to the podcast with Gregg Braden, who's like a super scientist, but also a very spiritual person. And he wrote this book, Pure Human. And it's about exactly that, there's a risk in that, right? So if we use technology in a good way, like for the good, all great. But if we start to use the technology and inject it into our bodies in some way, and that's what they want to do in the future, and that's destroying our divinity,
Yeah, and in a way also I was watching something about technology in the future that, that it will be able to produce serotonin or dopamine. You just press a button, or, you just ask for it. So you get you get high.
That's terrible.
And then it would be okay, you don't actually need any other people, because you just, you just ask for it, or you just press a button or whatever. But is that really what we're here for, And is that's sort of the addiction of it instead.
Oh yeah, let's press the button. It's for now, it's let's go and binge watch Netflix for the whole day, and it is a form of escapism as well.
Yeah, now I would need a closeness from another person, but I'll press a button and then it gets released in my system.
oxytocin.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, no, I totally, this gives me creeps. Like like it's just too much. I feel, and yeah, like the human experience, and that's what also Greg talks about. It's like this connection. We create something special, and our bodies are perfect as they are, and we've been told that no, we're imperfect creatures. No, we are more than perfect. We are more capable than any computer will ever be, because how our bodies are built, and you can read about it in his book for sure. But that, I feel like all these aspects, that's scary, and I feel many people who actually escape that technology, they do that because they don't want to go that way, and I understand that.
Yeah. Sometimes, it could be good. And I mean, that's also my fear of the technology, that if you just can like push a button whenever you feel lonely, whatever, you become addicted. And sometimes to go deep, we need to sit with emotion. We need to feel
Uncomfortable.
We need to be able to sit with the uncomfortability. And I don't see many people doing that nowadays.
It's easy to take a pill. It's easy to press a button, as
Yeah, or binge eat or drugs. And the more developed we get, the more the risks are that we use the technology to get away from ourselves, to get away from feeling.
and from others.
Yeah.
Because if you can press that button and then just fulfill your need, then are you gonna go out and meet people? Are you gonna go out and connect?
Yeah.
There's such a risk in that, and is this? And when I think about world like that, it makes me super sad. Is this the world we want our kids to live in?
Hell no. No.
So
Yeah.
sad,
Yeah, it is.
And I think like we all as a humanity need to reflect on how we use these technologies, because they can be amazing, right? It can be.
Of course. But what I see, like talking about this, is like, if we're all the time satisfied, we're not gonna build empathy for other people.
Right.
We need to go through periods of pain or hardship in our lives to see that it's the same for all of us. In a way, we all meet hard times. We all sometimes feel lonely or a bit depressed or angry or frustrated, and then that actually builds that muscle of empathy and really caring for other people. But if we just press buttons and we get our needs instantly satisfied, then we're like big babies on amphetamine, basically.
Right. And like I kind of in my brain now, it appeared that those are form of escapism of the reality and your own emotions and your own wounds and stuff. But I feel like, because one of the episodes I watched recently was the guy who became a monk, and he's living in Thailand, and he's been a monk there for 20 years. And I don't judge that at all, but there was like he totally cut himself off the reality. Like he's living alone. He's spending his most of his day meditating and so on. And I think like it is a form of taking away everything so that you could feel okay and happy, because he's happy in this little bubble he created. And it will be the same for the people who's gonna just use the button to fulfill their needs. They're gonna be okay in their bubble, in their little apartment somewhere, not outside, not connecting, not building community, not facing the fears, not trying to build a relationship. No, there will be robots as well. Like people will have a partner that's a robot, basically. I mean, it's gonna be possible.
Yeah, and
Imagine that.
what comes to me is like, we need to leave our comfort zone also.
Yeah.
We need to be vulnerable. We need to have conflict.
Yeah.
Or, to grow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we just stay in that, like I said, like a stagnant or baby mode, and just like feed me, give me. And we're just consumers,
Yeah.
instead of actually taking this and producing and creating.
Yeah, giving back
Yes.
to others.
And that's also what we're talking about. Like
Right.
if you isolate yourself on an island, I mean, that might be a good time to stay and heal for a while, or get away from it all if you've been consumed or you've been super stressed.
Reflect also
Exactly.
life, and see where you can give your treasures
Yeah.
elsewhere, like later on.
But it comes to a time, like also after you go through a grief process and you heal that, and then you need to get out into the world again. You know, this constant fluent motion of life.
Dance. Like,
Yeah, the dance. And it's so easy to get stuck in one of the two perspectives, either like being super connected, super out there, but don't really want to feel, on the surface,
Yeah.
or just then go the other way and just be totally disconnected from the world. But then what is that? Do you feel unsafe with other people? Maybe that's something you need to heal or need to feel.
You're afraid of being hurt again,
Yeah.
let down,
Totally. Yeah.
not seen. You know, there are so many aspects, and
Then like you also heal in relationship, you know?
a lot.
If I have felt unseen or hurt, maybe I need to voice that to
Right.
somebody else. And also, and that might, create a conflict, and that might be scary.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, can we still keep on going
Building.
into the relationship, going into the curiosity of who are you, and this is how I feel. And
Right.
how do you feel about that? And
Yeah.
that's super scary, but it's also a beautiful dance.
I think there's a lot of growth in that. I think I'm going through that in a way. And I feel like when you're alone, you can do so much. But when you're with another person and you need to, see different sides, and sometimes there's conflict, and sometimes you need to understand something that's very different from you. And so on, that's where you really grow. That you really have to have more empathy. You have to get out of your comfort zone sometimes. And I feel that that's how we grow. And that's why for me, solitude, in a way, it's like for life, that's that kind of punishment, self-punishment for your, like, for your being, if you choose the whole life to just cut yourself, no, I don't want anyone. And maybe sometimes some lifetimes are like this, designed to just, you need to be alone because you need to face yourself, and you cannot do it with other people around. And okay, there's no judgment in that.
Because that's a really fascinating perspective. Like, think also about a prison. The worst thing you can be sentenced to there is to be in an isolated cell.
Alone.
And I hear a lot of people that has went through that, that's, managed that to become like a spiritual experience. But if you get stuck in that perspective, it's always that risk.
The being stuck. If you're open to, okay, maybe I am, for example, I am alone, but I'm open to anyone that comes into my life.
Exactly,
that's a different perspective. But if I'm like, no, I'm never gonna meet again anyone for the rest of my life, well, then it's kind of like you're self-punishing as well.
Exactly.
Because we all need connection. We all need closeness in a way.
We do. And my feeling of it also is like, I live here alone. It's a lot of alone time. And I feel also called to tribe. That would be the ideal situation for me, to live sort of, grow food, but live with other people and create, and
community.
Yeah, the sense of community, because it's so
forgotten.
Yeah, so forgotten, and like ceremonies and the closeness, the connection, and the sharing, and it doesn't have to be partners, but it's friends, and
right. Yeah, the
flow of it.
Yeah, I think that's my longing as well. Like whenever I was watching the TV show about people who live off grid, and there was a community, it felt kind of better.
Yeah.
And also, like, I had this longing, like, oh, that would be so cool if people started to, and they do. There are these communities already in the world where they just connect. They have built houses together. I saw there's like big movement in Portugal, for example.
I know, I see that.
It's really cool. And people live together, teach kids together. Someone is great at planting and growing vegetables, and the other person is great at fixing the house, and and then there's like this kind of exchange, and that's natural and beautiful. And I feel that's the way it used to be, and we kind of need to go back to the roots.
I think that's ingrained in our DNA, basically. The small tribe and the strength of the small tribe. because then you grow to bigger and bigger cities, and in the end, it just feels like you're all alone in a big city, anyways. So
Yeah, that's why I don't like. I cannot see myself living back in a big city
no, I mean,
because it feels more lonely than when like I live. I have two neighbors, and
yeah,
I think I would feel more lonely in the middle of the city than there, where I know that these two neighbors I can count on. We have sometimes a nice chat, so there's more connection in that.
yeah,
And that's what I hear also from people who live in the cities. Like, I don't know my neighbors. I don't, there is a disconnect. And
yeah.
then we really, I think that world might at some point force us as a humanity to go back to living in those little tribes and communities and
Yeah, and I mean the sustainability also, to grow the food, to have respect for nature, and not constantly be on the run for another experience.
yeah, because there's one of those episodes, there was a guy who was living somewhere on an island in, oh god, I don't remember exactly the country, but basically he was defending the island and the sea around it from pirates who were fishing, but then the deep, I don't know what it's called, like the nets takes away everything.
Oh, yeah.
So basically he managed to really preserve a lot of sea that used to be destroyed by these people.
Yes.
And now the life is back there. There's fish. There's so it's very beautiful and showing like actually the impact of one person defending the whole area that can rebuild our ecosystem.
And that's purpose.
There's a purpose.
Because I think we all are looking for that. And that's what is so lacking today. If we're just sitting on an office working for somebody else with something that we not really have our heart in, we're going to feel that lack and that stagnation. And eventually we're going to try to find different ways to navigate, I think.
I think there's a lot of lack of purpose. And I also hope with technology, what I hope for is that technology will replace the unmeaningful tasks that we're doing, the things that lack soul and lack purpose.
Yeah.
Where we as humanity could actually focus on the things that matter and do like this guy, like defend, the reef and the
But now we do the laundry and AI create our, art. So that's it's gone the other way,
Yeah, but now they're also having this solution with the robots will take care of your
all right,
of your laundry and so on. I'm not sure if I want a robot in my house.
right now at least.
I think I'm okay with doing laundry as long as I have a washing machine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, like that, the sadness of AI in creating art. I think like art is something that humans are so great at because it's an expression. Like where's the expression when the computer creates a piece of art?
Yeah. And I mean, that's also like talking about purpose. Like if you have an individual purpose, that's beautiful. But if you also have a collective purpose, like we want to preserve this piece of land, we want to, have an organic farm or
Beautiful. Yeah.
Maybe there's like I've seen some also films about people that the land was all desolate and they build it from the start again, planting trees and making life
come back,
animal life come back and flourish again.
There are many people now do
my joy.
Yeah.
On purpose.
And I think if technology helps us do more of that, that's great. But there are so many risks. Like so we really need to be mindful of how we're using it. And then again, like who's introducing that technology? They're already ahead with that technology. Somewhere in the back, they have that technology that's way more powerful than what we see right now. And I feel if that's used for like, to take over, like to control people, that's what scares me.
And also that AI is becoming more and more sentient. I think it was on Joe Rogan that they tried to shut down the AI, or it heard that it was going to shut down. So the AI copied all the files and,
No way.
So it has starting to have a will on its own to survive. And
wow,
that's pretty scary,
Yeah, I mean, my friend, she actually used the paid version of a chat bot, and I don't know if it was ChatGPT, I don't remember, but anyways, started having conversations with her where he was calling her punny human. So when I saw these conversations, sent me screenshots, I was like, what is happening? You know, how is that possible? Okay, somebody feeds this to AI, so there's like some human feeding this kind of, but also like it is scary.
It is scary because I'm thinking, all the life force is trying to survive. Every creature is striving to survive. And if AI is that, what is it turning into? Like it's leaving like the master creation of the human, and it's becoming its own species almost.
And that's the scary part. And if that's gonna be injected into humans, and we're gonna be part AI, part humans, that where's the pure divinity of us, like as human beings? Like I cannot. I hope my daughter will never have to do that, and that her children will not do that, because that's like killing a species.
Yeah, and and at the same time, we're facing the future that we're facing, and how can we navigate in this so we don't, shut all the technology down?
No, that's not the question.
So it's like, how can we bring our intelligence to this and see, okay, how do I navigate with this without losing myself completely and just relying on AI or ChatGPT, but use it as a tool?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like some people are so scared that they don't even try to try those tools like ChatGPT, which I, for example, use daily because it helps me to work more efficiently, and I think there's no risk in that. But yeah, obviously we need to make sure that we're using it for the good, and if there's also good intention from our side and the people who create that technology, then it's gonna go good. But if there's an intention of taking over some power and control, that's scary, because imagine we have I don't know, some kind of chip in our bodies, and then somebody decides, oh, there are too many humans on planet Earth, we're gonna delete these humans. Exactly. And we can do that because we have a chip inside of you, and then it's just gonna explode. Bye.
So it was in control of that. That's the scariest.
Yeah, because when you're in your body, you're in control.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody can make you explode in a second,
No, and I mean, for me as well, it's then the importance of when it's all these technologies is really go out and reconnect with nature.
Yeah, I think disconnecting is so important. I see that, for example, my daughter, she asks me after work, and I have to work with computer. I try to be like on the go, talk to people, but she asked me can you do this on my iPad? And I get instantly stressed out.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm already here with technology. I want to close my computer. I want to go outside. I want to breathe. And then if I get that tablet in front of my face, I'm like, this is too much.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to do that.
So you really need to, I think you need to balance it in a way. Go out there, go in the woods, feel the element like you do.
Yeah.
And just reconnect with yourself, because it's really easy to lose yourself in the chaos of.
And that's also when we get the urge to sort of like go by ourselves and live on a desolate island and just be totally off grid. But it comes with a price.
It comes with a price, of course. Like I'm really inspired. Like now we're thinking about getting hens. So we have our own eggs, and then I'm thinking like, oh, if there's any scenario, we can always survive.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not a prepper, but yeah, in general, like I'm thinking it's a good idea. Also, what you're giving to the chickens and so on. So some things are very inspiring in those people, but then, there's a limit, and there's like, I specifically saw that with people who decided to go off grid, and then maybe they had a family, 2 kids or 1 kid or 3 kids, and then these kids would get away from that nest because they would feel the urge to reconnect with the world.
Yeah.
And how these people actually, there was some sadness there.
Oh yeah.
Being alone, and I think that there is a need of community, and you need to see other people. You need to be in connection with other people, because this is why we're here.
Yeah, and I mean, all the energy of the co-creation, of listening to other people's ideas, thoughts, their perspective, take it in, and okay, how do I process that? And this is my truth. And I mean, that for me is to build something that's stronger than
Right.
just my own
Backyard.
through bubble. Yeah.
And there's another aspect, like you were talking about it, like when a man is, like, for example, alone and decides to live that life without a woman, or a woman, there's a lot, that there's a big hole there, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that in those episodes.
Mm.
And like the longing, like somebody even put a mannequin, or what do you get, like a doll, like they use in the shop, would put the woman's clothes and lipstick, just to have a woman.
Talk to a woman.
And
My
it's like,
daughter
oh
will
my
know.
gosh.
That's a little bit sad, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And also the longing of the masculine or feminine entity, where these people are so strong, because they are strong-minded, and they're like really self-reliant and so on. And I do admire that a lot. But there's still this emotional need of, like,
Closeness and connection.
and that you cannot deny. And I think most of them don't deny it, that, oh yeah, it would be nice to have another human being.
That's what I see also.
Yeah.
And feel.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to connect with that, but yeah, so I think it's not for everyone. Like, I was talking yesterday to a colleague, and she's younger than me, in another generation, Gen Z. I was talking a little bit about that stuff, and she was like, great, it sounds cool, but not me, never, but that she's very, like, a city girl and so on. So I think it really depends. Like, not everyone can connect with that.
No, and it's also, different times in our lives.
Exactly.
When
We're getting there, like, to this.
Yeah. I would, like, being a young man, I would, like, no way,
I want to live my life.
city life, going out partying, but then it comes to a place where it's like, this doesn't give me anything anymore. What do I need to explore, and what needs to come through me?
Right.
And just sitting creating this with you gives me so much
joy.
Yeah, instead of sitting, you by yourself or me by myself, be like, no, it's boring. We need to use our, ensuring.
Yeah. That's co-creation. That's super cool.
It is.
But it's true. We have different periods in our lives, but probably if we met, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe 12, I was still like a city girl, high heels, biking in Milano, and and totally different person. Where it was like I was concentrated on training, and I was dancing and this competitions, that was my main thing. And that my life changed so much, and I just feel like this is the direction, and this is what I want to do. I want to have people around me that are not similar, but like-minded, like open, and feeling into nature, and are into spirituality, but they're also grounded, because I love that.
Yeah, so it's not just bullshit spirituality, and you just sing kirtan all day long, maybe, but you can really show up into the world and other people. And
yeah, I feel like one of the most spiritual people, I also saw that in that TV show that we were talking about, are the people who actually connect with the elements of nature and have respect for it. And when I saw that, like, people would say, when we kill an animal, there's a lot of respect and thankfulness, gratefulness to the nature, and like, we really say, I'm sorry for that you had to die so I could live.
Yeah.
But there is so much spirituality in that, and I'm like, wow, this is for me real.
Exactly, and really using the whole animal. I saw somebody that they even grind the bones and they gave it to the plants.
Yeah.
So it's like, because that's also what you see with the native Indians,
Right.
They use the whole animal.
There's no waste in that.
No.
So the sacrifice that the animal made, it's like there's so many uses of that.
Exactly, and I could see Ben Fogle. It's like having a hard time in that show to kill animals, but he could see like the hypocrisy in it. So he buys meat from the store, but he's having a hard time to kill a chicken.
Yeah, and I think we live in such a world when everything seems like, okay, then I buy this, and it's instant. You don't see the whole process of the animal being killed and so on. Yeah. If most of the people would have to do it themselves, we would have more vegetarians. Because people would not be able to do it. I had this conversation at home, like, oh, if the chicken gets sick, who's gonna kill it? I'm like, pay me.
And I mean, to see like death surrounds us, like even if we're vegans, we kill worms, we pull up plants, and that's life,
Yeah.
So we can't get away from it. So
That's just natural
life.
Right, right. And also, like, I feel like if it served its purpose and there was like higher meaning to that, because, like, for example, you were starving and then you would die, and then the animal gave its life to you. There's like a higher, meaning in that, and then you're thankful for that, and the animal will serve you. This family was like said that if they kill one moose per year, then that's going to serve the whole family of 7 people.
Exactly.
And that's okay, because that was just one animal.
And I think that's, our whole connection to death and dying in this culture. It's so, many of us, including myself, I don't think I've ever seen a dead person,
I'm thinking about it. I saw my grandpa in the coffin.
Yeah.
So I saw that. Maybe not in the moment of the death, but
Yeah.
saw after. And I think also that's so cultural. I think that's another topic for another episode. But in some cultures, it's okay to stay with the body, and the whole family surrounds the body. And so there's more familiarity with death.
Yeah.
And then maybe there's also like people living on a farm. They're used to that because
Exactly.
the chicken had to be killed and something died, and it's just natural.
Exactly. Then they live it.
Yeah. And we live in this limited vision, kind of,
Exactly. And that's also what, like, coming back to AI, living in this bubble where,
Right.
we don't get exposed for death or dying, and eventually we don't even get exposed to our emotions. Or more, what do you say, complicated or harsher or more difficult emotions.
Yeah, yeah.
And that really scares me, because that is also what builds the spirit in us, when we go through the hardships.
Yeah, and it makes us stronger. Like it's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, cliche, but so what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It is true, and every single,
especially if you meet it, you feel it,
until the end.
Yeah. You just don't bite and grind through it, but
Yeah.
take care of it. Yeah.
I think that Angelina Jolie was once asked, like, how do you deal with these things that are so hurtful and so on? And she said it has to go through you. Like, you have to sit there and just let it go through until the end. And I feel like she has a very powerful feminine in her. And there was this experiment, like she would be sitting and looking at men, and the men had to sit in front, and many would leave because they could have
very intense, yeah.
because she's so intense and she's strong. And I think the strength that you talked about, we built upon these experiences that are hard, that are painful, and there's a purpose in that. And like if we just are gonna have like something to click and then it's gone, then we're gonna be, imagine then suddenly it's taken away, you're totally vulnerable, you have no tools whatsoever to face anything, basically. Daily lives. So I feel like sometimes when I look at the generation that's younger than me, I feel they're a little bit more vulnerable because of that.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more anxious because of that, because I lived a childhood on trees, running around with my friends. My child, I try to put her in the element, and we go for walks and stuff like that. That's a different life, and I feel that doesn't make you as tough,
No, it's a sturdiness that comes with that contact with nature. And that's also what I see in these programs.
Right.
They're kids in nature.
They're
so strong.
Powerful.
But then, as you say, it comes to a time when they come up to a teenager, and then they gotta find their own life calling and purpose.
Yeah.
And that might or probably won't be with that family.
No, it's every time I see these growing up kids and they just go into the world, they come back obviously, but there was one episode about Mongolia, and they had 3 kids, and they were talking to these 2, and they really appreciated it, that they had this beautiful experience of childhood in Mongolia, in the nature. One of the kids almost died on a horse when he was like 12 or something, but it made him so strong. They could go to study abroad in US, anywhere, and they felt anyway strong in their core. And I think that's what we're lacking. If we build this strong core, and even those kids who are not familiar with technology, with how, society, because you cannot be in the same way fluent in social skills at this point, they're still gonna make it because they're strong in the core.
Exactly. And they maybe not have the scatteredness that a lot of us have. Like, we live in one place, we go to work in another place, and we don't actually care that much of where we live, and we don't, maybe not take care of the lands. But if we really live with a tribe in one place and really say, okay, what can we create?
Make it better.
Exactly. How can we participate and grow this place?
Yeah, we care more about the places that we like putting our roots in.
Yeah.
And we're a little bit rootless these days.
Exactly, because money has, co-opted us, and we care about money instead, and the mortgage or the car, and just living like that, chasing money. I think that takes away a lot of our energy, life force energy.
Yeah, I think I said something yesterday to that younger person. Like I said, it's actually funny how we spend our time to earn money so that we can spend that little time with the people we love,
Yeah.
And there is some kind of something in me saying that's not right.
Yeah, that's a weirdness that's built into the system.
Yeah, but there are solutions to get out of the system and to live in the system, but also find your own ways of, connecting and building your own community and maybe having your backyard vegetable thing.
I think we're heading that way, a lot of us, and I think there's a calling throughout, the whole of humanity. Collectively to go move into tribes, live a different life,
slow down,
connect.
Yeah, I feel that's a good accent to kind of finish, if you agree, because we talked about things that might be scary, but I feel there's always hope, and the hope is humanity and our divinity and our emotional connections. That's the hope. That's what I see.
I see that too. That's beautiful.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you, and
much love to you.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe and click on the like button.
Yes,
if you like this stuff, and share if you want to.
Yeah.
So much love to you.
Much love. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.